fucking Run DMC, It's Like That, Houdini, Magic Wand, Electric Kingdom, what the fuck else? It had Rocket, Herbie Hancock, like mad classic shit, you know what I mean? And I just rocked that shit. It came with a fold out paper poster thing with instructions on how to breakdance. Like little picture joints, you know what I mean? I used to try that shit, but then I got a tape called Power Rap. That shit had Lottie Dottie on it, Super Bowl Shuffle. Dana Dane was on that bitch, Houdini and shit, man. So since I was a kid, you know what I mean? And then when I seen LL Cool J Bad, the video was a rap. It was a rap. I was like, yeah, that's me, nigga. You know? Skinny nigga getting it in. So yeah, that's when I fell in love with that shit, man. And I love that shit, yo. It's my life. Tell you about my style and where it came from, man. Well, I guess, you know, I started rapping when I was 14, you know what I'm saying? And before that, I used to just memorize other niggas' shit. And Nas was probably the biggest cat I used to really rock in Redman. So I guess you could say my style would be a mix between Nas, Redman, and some Jay-Z and Biggie in there too. But I used to really like to memorize songs. I used to write them down, you know what I mean? Like I never forget Outkast, Crumbling Herb verse. I wrote it down line for line to memorize it. Then I looked at it and how it fit on the page. And then like once I started writing raps and shit, it was like, you know, I kind of did it off of like how it's supposed to look, I guess, you know what I mean? And then it sounded and how you know, it's interesting because I just used to fill pages and shit, you know what I mean? I didn't know song structure and shit. And then another one a couple years later was Raekwon. Like it was a rap. Like when I heard Raekwon, summer before 10th grade, I used to just come home every day after work and just write to Raekwon. So it really shortened my shit up because I used to be a little more outcasty, I guess, just fit as many words in and like non-stop, like brrrr, you know. And then once I heard Raekwon and how he's so choppy and Ghostface, and his, you know, it had a big influence too, but I listened to so much coming up that, man, it's a little of everything in there and shit. You know what I'm saying? So I'd say the top three would be Nas, Redman, Jay, and Ray. But I started in '94, so that only makes sense. You know what I mean? Because them niggas the hottest niggas. But yeah, some Outkast. Go. Alright, so top 5 most influential MCs in the game, I guess. Cause not my top favorite. My favorites are other shit, but the top 5 MCs that impacted and shit. I'm gonna answer that in 2 parts. Cause I got old school and new school, you know what I mean? So old school will be real quick, like Run DMC, LL, Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, and Slick Rick. Like each, and I won't explain why on each one. You know, go run a fucking DVD and shit. They talk about that shit. But you know, Run DMC, you know, they changed the game. Like just everyone was wearing funny clothes and looking like disco fags before. Oh, excuse me. before Run DMC came. And LL, I mean, come on, you know what I mean. And Big Daddy Kane and Rakim, they came on at a time when niggas was screaming on the mic, and they really calmed shit down. And Slick Rick, like the style and the stories. And then Public Enemies, I'm gonna just put them honorable mention because they're not MC. Like just as a movement, like you know, they were still channeling the '60s struggle. You know, the '60s struggle of Black America and how that's affecting the 80s with the crack and shit like that, you know what I mean? So, those guys for the 80s and shit. And then I could probably chop it in, you know, 90s to 2000s, but let's see. Nas changed the game for real. He channeled that Rakim energy, that cool, you know, cool shit. Plus, he's light-skinned with a dope fade, you know what I mean? Like, come on. And then, cause you gotta think about it, ain't a lot of light-skinned niggas in the game, you know what I mean? Like, that's a whole nother subject. So Nas, oh shit, Jay-Z, because Jay-Z, when you listen to his first album, before that, the New York drug rap shit was real rugged, you know what I mean? It was Wu-Tangs, and even Nas was, you know, hoodied up and shit with the little brimmed up beanie in the video, and it's cold, and he's on rapping on his cell phone, no cars, no nothing, you know. And with Jay, you know, and even Biggie was a corner rapper, you know what I mean? Like Everyday Struggle, this and that, and all these niggas is just real street level with it. And Jay brought it to another. He was like the next dude up in chain, you know what I mean? He was on the cover in his suit, the gangsta hat, the scarf. He's rapping about big money, keys, and like the whole other, you know, not quite Scarface, but right under Scarface and shit. And then these niggas, the rest of the niggas is on the street. You know what I mean? Ray and some of Wu-Tang niggas did that, but you had to read between the lines. You know, Jay just put it out there. You know what I mean? So there's Nas, Jay. Oh, fuck. Kanye, bro, because, you know, Kanye really, I don't want to say softened up the game, but he made it okay to be you, and you don't have to be super duper smart and knowledge body this and I'm God and this and that and 5% shit, or you know, stop the violence and love your brother shit. But he wasn't super, and he wasn't super player like I'm the biggest pimp. But he wasn't soft, you know what I mean? I guess he was kind of soft, but he was cool, you know what I mean? Dressed cool, he was dope on the mic, and he really brought back sampling and the soul to hip hop after it was so Swiss beatsed out and the whole Dame Greases and the synthy choppy beats and shit. You know, Kanye channeled Pete Rock, you know what I mean, and brought that. So he's very influential. I throw Snoop in there. I'm not a big fan of his, not, you know, but he changed, you know, so influential. So that's Nas, Jay, Snoop, Kanye, and X. You know what I mean? Because he, you know, after that whole shiny suit shit, he just came in and was like, get at me, dog. Stop being greedy. So that'd be, you know, and that's nowhere close to like my 5 favorite or who I listen to the most or nothing, but like the 5 that changed the game, you know what I mean, from 93 and beyond, you know what I'm saying? Those 5. And then, you know, and honorable mention, Wu-Tang Clan. I mean, who had a 9-member crew before that with the dirtiest beats? I didn't even like that shit when that came out. I was in the G-Funk, and I remember I traded my Wu-Tang to my homeboy George for his Strictly For My Niggas tape. I said, man, give me that pop, man. This Wu-Tang shit's weird. I like the cream, and that's about it. And why is it all so simple? And then like a year later and shit, not even a year later, I just was like, bring the motherfucking ruckus. Bring the motherfucking ruckus. Hardcore, like porno freak bitches or some shit, like in the video with the chessboard. I was like, oh, Ghostface Killer with the bad. Like, I could go on for Wu-Tang on like so many levels that, you know, 5 MCs out of there could have been on my top 5 for impact. But yeah, man, I could go on that shit. But I say that Jay, Nas, Snoop, Kanye, and X for, you know, and that's just off the top, you know. That's just talking as a businessman or a hip hop historian, not how I personally feel, you know what I mean? Because I'm on some weird shit with that. Like, alright, first of all, I don't know shit about the St. Paul scene. No offense, but I just don't fuck with St. Paul, man. I got love for St. Paul niggas and shit, you know. Shout out St. Paul Slim and shit. But the Twin Cities hip hop scene is fun, but it seems divided. You know what I mean? Like every crew for themselves, and there's no unity. There's no big crews. I guess no one fucks with each other and shit. It's like everything's so self-contained up here, and it's all very extreme. Like you're like super Southside dope dealer, super Northside gangster, or super nerd fucking It's still 1995. I got an MPC from my big brother that he bought in 92 shit. You know what I mean? Or whatever. I probably weren't even out in 92, but it's just so extreme where, as you know, it's tough to create a Minneapolis sound, you know, because half the cats are trying to sound like Waka Flocka and the down south shit. Half the cats are trying to sound like Chicago shit with the Twister, and now there's even these young pretty boys trying to be Kanye's and Big Sean's and shit. And then you got these niggas still thinking it's 96 and trying to be fucking hoodies and Timbos every day in the summer and shit. Like, it's fucking 99 degrees out here, dog. Like, fuck out of here. But I don't know, it's hard for me to just say like how I feel about Twin Cities hip hop because I'm a part of it, and I feel you know, it's funny who gets shine out here. You know what I mean? There's a lot of politics, and you know, like with the hip hop awards, for example, like, you know, it's like you look at the nominees, and then I went last year, and it's like, what's really going on here? You know? And as far as like the hip hop scene and how they look at us on the outside looking in, it's atmosphere. It's fucking, you know, sound set. You know what I mean? And that's cool. You know what I mean? I went to all the Atmosphere and Sixth Sense and the whole Rhyme Says Crew Beyond even, and that, you know, even when Raw Villa, Abstract Pack in the late 90s, I went to all that shit. You know what I mean? At the 7th Street and, you know, First Ave, all the shows, you know, they came like every month or something, and then they go to Des Moines and Milwaukee and Chicago, Waterloo, I don't fucking know, Aberdeen. So it was on the Midwest chilling circuit, and I showed love, you know. Sean Slug used to work at fucking Electric Feeders, and I loved the first album, and then they naturally grew into like this emo shit that was way before its time, which is dope. They really put Minneapolis on the map, which is dope. But now people not from Minneapolis and St. Paul or whatnot, from other states, they look at us like some emo kids and shit. You know what I mean? No, even this whole sound set, the artists they get up here for that, it's like, you know, it's like, you know, it's like hip hop in general lacks balance. But the Twin Cities gonna be okay, man, because a lot of people show love. You know what I mean? A lot of talent out here, you know, and there's a lot of local shows to go to, you know. And I show love, you know, but there's a lot of whack shit too. One thing about the Minneapolis hip hop scene is like we're a small market, like in general, like for sports teams and everything. We're considered a small market. We out here think we live in a big city and it's a dope city. I love it, but we really are a small market. So, in order for a lot of cats to blow, you gotta, you know, lock shit down here. But in order to take that next step, you gotta leave. And that's not just Minneapolis. That's any town. You know what I mean? Look at Chicago even. You know, Kanye had to move to Jersey and shit to get on. You know what I mean? Even though their shit was halfway there. And even Atmosphere moved to L.A. Or Rhyme Says. Their offices are in L.A. and shit. You know, they got the record store here and they're still really involved. But so it's tough, you know, to talk about the Minneapolis hip-hop scene, knowing what I know as a business person and just how shit works in the long run, you know. Like, if you really want to take it to that level, you gotta leave, you know, until Chicago turns into a hub. But even fucking Motown left Detroit. Just saying. For the next 5 years will be interesting. Because I'm interested to see what happens with the music shift in hip hop, which is, you know, it's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like right now, it's shifting anyway. It's been shifting. So I see Minnesota, Twin Cities finally making this a sound, a soundtrack to the city. Like we gotta start showing love to our roots. You know, like I don't hear no one. Cause I want to do like a mixtape where it sample nothing but, you know, Minnesota music. You know what I'm saying? Like Prince, of course, The Time, and Alexander O'Neal, even Janet Jackson and all the Flight Time records, because that's Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and shit. And so once And I'm not saying that's what we should do or nothing, but once Minneapolis creates